Hello, happy, what's today? Tuesday. It's Mary Cravens, and this is, look at this. I'm so fancy today. 5 barriers to implementing your plan. My assistant got me all set up on StreamYard. So there's branding and all kinds of fun things today. So today, what are we talking about? 5 barriers to implementing your plan. So how many of you have ever created this gorgeous plan? Maybe you went through a class and maybe it was a plan for the whole year, or maybe it was a plan for just your marketing or your social media. And then it comes to implementing and real life shows up. And so I came up with 5 different barriers that I know people encounter with their planning, with implementing their plan, not planning, but the implementation of the plan. And coincidentally, I was able to do 5 C's. Yay. So these are the 5 C's, the 5 barriers to implementing your plan. All right. So number 1, look at this. See? Oh, wait, this way. This StreamYard's new for me. So look at that. So cool. Care is number 1. So care, what do I mean by care? When you have a plan, you don't have a clear enough vision of where you're going, or a big enough why, a big enough reason. If you frankly don't care enough about the outcome that your plan was built to support, you're not going to do it. If you are the kind of person who gets really revved up by setting a BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal, and your plan is to make, $10 by the end of the week, you're not going to care. You're not going to implement. So you got to make sure that your plan is actually working towards something that you give a shit about. Okay. So that's number 1. Do you have enough care? Do you care about where you're going with your plan enough to actually implement it when you don't feel like it? So that's number 1. It's care. All right. Number 2, and I'm not even going to try. Okay, wait, oh no, dang it. I cannot get this right. I'm pointing the wrong direction. There we go. Number 2 is clarity. 2 is clarity. So clarity. This is probably one of the biggest problems I see with people's plans, is that you just don't get specific enough. I see plans built where it's like, okay, here's my goal, and here are the strategies, and here's how I feel about it, and here's my why. So maybe you got the care like all buttoned up and you're good with that, but you're just not specific enough. Specificity is the enemy of procrastination. Specificity is probably, if you do one thing and get really specific, like more specific than your current plan then that will likely get you over the hump. So I want you to imagine the difference between, let's say it's your lead generation plan. Okay, let's say we're talking about your lead generation plan, because that's kind of where I live. So you get to your time block on your calendar and it says lead generation. So you get to that time block and you look at it and you're like, what should I do for lead generation? Well, there's something about social media and something about referrals, and maybe I should check my email to see if there's anything there. Okay, it's not specific. You don't have enough clarity about what it is that you need to do. So compare that or contrast that to, what if you got to your time block where you're going to do lead generation, and instead of just saying lead generation, it says call Jim, Sue, and Bob and ask if I can speak for their groups, or nurture 7 relationships and reach out to specific 7 people. Being specific, that way when you allot the time to implement your plan, you get to that time block and you do it, because it's just check, 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 check. Very simple. So if you feel like you're kind of spinning in your plan a little bit, like you're even time blocking and everything, then check how specific you are about the activity you do. And what this requires is a little bit more preparation time. So take time the day before to plan your day and get really specific about how you're going to implement the plan. Okay. Number 3 is confidence. Number 3 is confidence. And this isn't about like, oh, I feel so confident, or, oh, I feel, not confident. it's not about the what's inside so much, but more about your confidence about your does your plan actually line up with where you want to go? Do you see how the dots connect so that when you put energy into implementing your plan, you actually are like, oh yeah, I can totally see how doing this activity leads to this, leads to this, leads to this. So there's a lack of confidence. And it's that feeling of like, what's the point? So if you have that kind of what's the point feeling, then you probably want to make some better connections. And so, for instance, what we do with our clients on with client generation and that plan is we start with what's the income you want to make. We look at how many clients is that going to take. We look at what is your closing ratio. We look at, what are the activities that you should be doing. And then we calculate how much of that should you be doing each month in order to reach that income goal that you want. Now it's very specific, and we have a high degree of confidence that if you just do these activities, if you implement your plan, it will likely over time result in the income and the outcomes that you're looking for. So the third one is confidence. How confident are you that if you're implementing your plan, it's actually going to lead to the results you want? Number 4 is commitment. And this is you're just simply not making implementing your plan a priority. To combat this, it's kind of simple. You just put time blocks into your calendar to implement your plan. Do some of the other C's with getting super clear and specific with your activity, but put the time blocks in your calendar. And then here's the big one. You ready for it? Keep your appointments with yourself. If you had an appointment with a client, would you ever break that? If you didn't have your leg broken or your child needed help, okay? No, but we very easily break these commitments to ourselves. So this is a big barrier. You've got to keep that commitment to yourself and to implementing the plan. And number 5 is communication. And this, when I say communication, what I'm thinking is that you're wanting to implement the plan and then you get stuck in your head. Okay. So some little problem, some little barrier or stumbling block pops up. But because you're not communicating it, because you don't have a coach or a community that you can get it out and say, hey, I'm thinking this, or I'm having a problem with that. Because you're not communicating it outward, you stay stuck. Stay stuck. Now, I have an accountability coaching group that I do, and it's every Monday. And I always think, my God, every week we're meeting every week. That sounds totally crazy. But what I have found is that little barriers, little gaps in knowledge over time expand into these huge chasms of in your implementation. So what starts as something small, and I'm trying to think of a good example. If anyone on here has a good example, I'll tell you. I have a lot of people in my group. They're doing speaking inquiries, and something simple like, well, what if I can't find the email address of the coordinator? All right, well, then the solution is go find the contact form on the website or call somebody. Okay, there are simple solutions when you are consistently communicating what are those gaps, what are the things that are getting in the way, and facilitating solutions. And so what I find with like the weekly group is the people who every week they bring a small barrier or a small gap to their plan and implementing, they really start moving because none of those gaps become chasms in their business. And when they do, I mean, a week, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months can go by if you're not communicating what some of those stumbling blocks are. So these are simple things, but what I know and I'll actually, let me get the full list up here. I'm going to find it, or maybe I'm not. Oh, there it is. Here's the whole list of all 5. You can go back and watch this again, but just check in. These are simple things. And in my company, we're always looking for what are those simple solutions, those things that in a busy life can just get overlooked. They can get lost in the busy. We can make it so complicated in our heads when really what we need to do is just go back to the basics. If I'm not implementing my plan, is it something that I care about? Is it going in a place I care about? Do I have enough clarity and specificity in what my actions should be? Do I have confidence that this plan is the right plan? Am I making a commitment to it? Am I communicating the gaps as I go instead of letting them turn into chasms? That's it. Find out where your gaps are, what your barriers are, and then do everything you can to start chipping away and moving forward. So have a fabulous rest of your week.